I only realized this a couple of days ago. This is kind of scary because I only realized this a couple of days ago, and I've only come out to a few people. I'm a guy. I use he/they pronouns, and I'm gonna go by Theo. I told my mom today, and I have to go home every day and be called my dead name and have she/her pronouns used every time I go home. And no one realizes how hurtful it is. It's like a slap in the face. And I dyed my hair last night so I could feel more masculine, and I was afraid I was going to get thrown out of the house. We love you, Theo. We love you. This is kind of scary.
Theo, mom is calling her by the wrong pronouns and she just doesn't feel loved. Remember when we used to wear like black t-shirts and black nail polish to rebel? Back in the day. Now it's changing into a totally different gender and then getting called the wrong pronouns at home, Nancy. I think that's the worst and the meanest, cruelest thing that you could do to a young lady, don't you?
Yeah, apparently so. I don't totally understand what I just saw, but okay.
Well, she came
Feelings.
out as a male.
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. And the people around her and that woman in the pink next to her who wasn't dressed in colorful capes. Yeah, it wasn't. We're in trouble.
Yeah, we're in deep SH, my friends. I mean, this is like literally Clown World. It says it all. And so you've got these kids that are going to school. Clearly she had her whole crew there. They think it's cool. They think it's fun. Like you said, the lady next to her probably looks like the grandma, horrified,
Yeah.
like she's in an Al Qaeda hostage video.
Well, plus I don't understand the whole, if it's so traumatizing, and these are real feelings and you're so hurt and it's so brave for you to come out and say it, why video? Like, why would you want to be videoed? Like the people I know, and I guess this is biased, but the people I know who like are coming out with something that maybe they're not sure about don't want to be on video about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand the whole displaying it to the world and the fanfare and the drama and all of that. I don't understand. Like it would be a private thing among friends and support and that type of thing and mentors. The whole filming this and making it into a whole shebang, I don't get. How wouldn't that re-traumatize you? Seems to me, but what do I know?
When you were a teen, did you ever smoke cigarettes? Try them?
Yeah, in college, older teen years, I would say.
Right. Well, I mean, I did. I think I was like 16 years old in my friend's parents' car, and I ended up smoking menthol cigarettes and throwing up in the glove box.
Oh,
Right.
gross. Nice.
I mean, but having a camera on when I'm, being rebellious never dawned on me. This is rebellious. We know it from the statistics, you guys. Somewhere on the order, even if you listen to the most progressive groups, somewhere on the order of 85 to 95% of teens that do this, right, will grow out of it.
Right.
So probably the same stats for smoking, I guess. How many stick with it? I don't know. But yeah, but dyeing your hair is not a big deal. What's a big deal, actually, and it's a very big deal, is going through and getting the hormones and getting the getting all this stuff that we've been talking about, going to ECU, going to Duke and getting your giblets, chopped off.
Exactly. Making permanent decisions based on what statistics show and all evidence points to could be a transient phenomenon. It's a problem.
Yes. Correct. Correct. And I'm trying to get this in slide promo, but I cannot do it. Let's see if I can do it this way. No, I cannot. So let me see. Let me go back. So what we're talking about now is we're talking about just the lunacy and a little bit of lunacy. We're going to go just into a little bit because there's a lot of lunacy out there. The lunacy of the left, and a lot of times we don't see this, we don't want to see it, but there's a lot out there. Especially, we've got a veto override that's almost assuredly going to come for the Youth Protection Act, for the Girls in Sports Act, and what's the other one? Parental Rights Act. And I really,
yeah.
And I really hope that we get to that. And so, we're hearing a lot of, I think hyperbole is putting it nicely. Nancy, what are some of the weird things that you've heard out there or seen? Because you're a Twitter person.
I scope Twitter out and see what people are saying. But actually, ironically, and we'll talk about it later, I guess, but the thing that's bothered me the most lately are some people locally near where I live who were in positions on boards, school boards and stuff, thinking that they were literally saving children's lives and saying that out loud and saying that in public. And I just find that statement by this former Orange County board chair, who was saying that her policies, was her job to save children's lives. I completely disagree. And I think that's full of hubris. And I think that's one of the most illogical things I've ever heard. And it's hard for me not to laugh. And, I just am like, what are you even talking about? And who do you think you are? It's not your job to save children's lives. Your job is to
that's
run
called a narcissist.
System.
Isn't that called a narcissist? I'm not a clinical.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, I knew trauma surgeons, pediatric surgeons, people who literally did physically save people's lives, who would never go out there and proclaim that, it's just really strange. And what's even stranger, I mean, I'm not surprised that this person said it because I followed her while she was on the board and she's certainly that way. But the support behind that is totally surprising. People don't recognize that this is somewhat deluded, that there's a delusion of grandeur going on here, and people give, elevate that voice and give it credence is to me lunacy. But
I mean, you and I are journalists. We bring very important stories to the surface. It's kind of like me being asked what I do for a living, and I'm an upholder of democracy.
Yeah.
Don't laugh too damn hard.
Savior.
The savior of all democracy.
Yeah. But that's what the left likes to do. I mean, that's what they do. They proclaim the most outrageous things and try to other people. So that's how they try to quote unquote win arguments, is they say, well, if you're against this, then you're going to kill children. That's basically what this person is setting herself up as, is my policies. I am in the job of saving children's lives. And that's how I see these policies. So if you're against these policies, you're going to kill children. I mean, that's basically what they're doing, is trying to shame and intimidate others and uphold themselves to this just absurd moral high ground that doesn't actually exist. And to me, it's just ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Yeah, Clown World. Absolutely. She deserves to be on Clown World over and over and over.
Done. So she what was her name again?
Hillary McKenzie. And I she's not a public position now, although she's still very active in that community. She has every right to be, and
this is Orange County. Yeah, this is Orange
County. The fact that this is she caused a lot of division in that community at her time and board chair. She was very pro teaching kindergartners about being able to change sexes and all this stuff, very heavily involved with very leftist activist groups. And caused a lot of problems.
Yeah. They probably put a scalpel in her hand, and she's probably
saving kids' lives. I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Sounds like she would fit right in. So I've got this tweet for you, and Nancy, I don't think you can see it, but it's from our friends at Carolina Forward, and by friends I mean buffoons over at Carolina Forward. And it's got this guy growing the pro-democracy coalition is what they're interested in, and again, saving the republic is what they want to do. And they've got a guy, and if you can see this here, he's got a a wife beater on, a puka necklace, and some other thing with a shirt open. So that's the guy that they want to save the republic here. Yeah, and so again, it's these sweeping things that the left likes to do, but the imagery, it just doesn't pair up at all. And this is a hilarious one because you can just imagine this guy right here, this dude.
Yeah,
seems like a nice enough guy, but saving the world, I don't know. Tim Miller. Yeah. So these are the kind of things you're seeing growing the pro-democracy coalition.
Pro-democracy coalition.
Right.
Very suspicious of that word democracy these days.
Well, democracy is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, one man's democracy is another one's totalitarian state.
Right. It's like the People's Republic of China. Like, are they upholding that republic? Right.
Nice play on words, and it's worth pondering, I think.
Yeah.
But a guy who has the cojones to rock a puka shell necklace. I mean,
I'm jealous.
In a way, I mean, who could have the courage? All right. So the next one is Josh Stein. So he came out this morning with his tweet. He believes that book banning is terrible to do. It's just a really, bad thing. And I'm going to put up some pictures now of the kind of things that he thinks should be in schools. But here's the man who went after Juul. It's the maker of these e-cigs. I mean, went after them like no one's business. Okay. For advertising to children. So, right. So you're advertising e-cigarettes to teens, and you might argue that, hey, sucking in hot air into your lungs is bad for you. Shouldn't do it. But let's look at what puberty blockers do.
Right.
Let's talk about sterility, which is permanent. Let's talk about, potential cancer from cross-sex hormones and sterility. So, in many of our schools, in fact, most of them, what these books are doing, it's direct-to-consumer advertising for going to the doctor and getting these treatments.
Yeah, and they tell kids to go behind parents' back. That the one children's book that's actually geared for elementary school, George, it actually tells kids to search the internet behind parents' backs. And the author himself or herself, I'm not sure which.
Don't you dare make a mistake.
I don't want to make a mistake, honestly. That's why I said I don't know. On the Twitter account was like proud of librarians who recommended the book despite what parents thought. So, I mean, that's their whole MO, is to not involve the parents and not be transparent. And if you do, the kid will die, that kind of thing.
Transparent. Nice play on words. Was that deliberate?
Yeah.
Well, another clownish thing is that picking on ECU is there's a lot to pick on. We've got a lot of material out of there, certainly. They have gotten grants to do a lot of studies on what e-cigs do to children. And yet a small minority of doctors, I'd like to point out, not many, but they're doing it, right? ECU standing behind it. They're giving these drugs out like it's, or want to, in the same manner that Duke does. So
yeah. No, it's really crazy. The one time they're, in that one email, they commented on anorexia disorder. So they're definitely not affirming that person is fat, right? Like, they're not saying, yeah, don't eat or anything. But at the same time, they are affirming that person isn't the sex that they were born. So it's like a hypocrisy within even the same patient. It's so wacky.
Well, yeah. And look, it's really dangerous. I mean, that's a bit less clownish because.
Right. I don't mean to make fun of that.
Yeah, no, but
point out the hypocrisy that doesn't make any rational sense. You affirm one condition, but not the other. Like this makes within the same page. Like, that makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. And nothing that the left does makes any sense.
Right.
So I'm going to put up this one by Diamond Stanton Williams, who is very special. She's a rep out of Cabarrus County, a state rep, and she, I guess, the day after the late term abortion, I want to point that out, late term abortion was outlawed in North Carolina. She said, I woke up this morning with fewer rights to my own body, to my medical decisions than yesterday. So did half of you. Today we mourn. Today we fight to get them back. Now, I've never heard her say about the rights to, for women to play in their own sports, or the right to be left the hell alone when you're in the bathroom,
Right.
With another man. And so let's talk about the regressive left, because this is a clown type of statement, and you're going to you're going to hear it all the time. Listen, election season is spinning up. You're going to hear that, that the right is Boko Haram and wants to take away all your rights. I mean, for women, you're going to hear it.
Right.
So get ready for the clownishness. And another one that they're saying, obviously, you're killing kids and you're taking away women's rights. And so, and they're pointing to a small minority of people, and that would be trans kids, which doesn't actually, didn't exist until 15 minutes ago.
Right.
So,
yeah. No, I agree. It's very clownish. These extreme reactions to policy decisions, the extreme name calling, the isms, the phobics, to people stating an opinion. It is, I mean, it's terrible, because then people have been silenced and have been, affected mentally by it, and are afraid. But at the same time, it's so clownish. It's like, how are some of these things so, I mean, you'd think the apocalypse was going to happen because someone made a tweet or something, it's just, yeah, it's clownish.
Yeah, but you guys, you're going to get used to this. You're going to, sadly, you're going to hear this extreme language. And then equality.
Yeah. And I think more and more people, Sloan, I think more and more people are getting really tired of it. Like, they're starting to realize, like, there's only so many times someone could call me a racist before. It's just like, really, I mean, give me a break. And I think more and more people are recognizing that, which I think is hopeful.
Well, they're probably tuning out, because quite frankly, we've heard enough. So,
right.
So up here, equality and C, gender affirming care is life-saving care, period. This is something that you're going to hear all through the election. And so what you'll have to do is you'll have to say to that, okay, how is that? And they're going to point you to, the suicide. Did you know that children are twice as likely, et cetera? And wow, really? So says who? Where's the data come from? They're going to always point to something called the, what is that survey? The one that they do in schools, the CDC.
The YRBS, youth at
YRBS.
Risk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, that is a self-report, which is the worst type of study that you can possibly do. It's a snapshot in time of a self-report. Okay. That is nothing. So point out to them that, wow, that's self-report, and it's hard to say something's life-saving if you don't have any good data on it, right?
Yeah, and plus you can look the other way too. And like, there are stories now. One mother was I can't remember if it was California or Florida, but the teachers transitioned her kid behind her back. She didn't know what was going on. The kid ended up getting so confused and so depressed and didn't have the mental support needed, because these teachers don't know what they're doing, that she killed herself. It's incredibly sad. So I would say gender affirming care in that instance killed a kid, and that's not exaggerating it.
Well,
yeah.
If trans people are more likely to commit suicide, then why is it being encouraged in school? I mean, look, do you encourage anorexia or drug abuse in school, or sexual assault or violence? No, you do something called prevention. In this way, schools devote a lot of time and resources into prevention. If this is so damn problematic, why are we encouraging it?
Yeah. Or affirming. Yeah. Why are we rushing so quickly into affirming and making permanent choices and not necessarily involving parents, because every parent is, fascist or whatever they want to say. It's the opposite. It's the opposite of sense. It makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Well, you know why you do it. Now we come right back to full circle in clown world, because you get to video yourself and film
Right.
it and have a wonderful party, and then have your grandma right next to you as a poor victim of circumstance in that instance. So
Yeah, and nothing else matters. You don't have to work at anything. You can just pull the victim card out.
right. Yeah, I'm a dude. Let me dye my hair and let's go. And so we've seen more on the men doing that and taking advantage of it. And getting away with it. But I saw this a couple weeks ago. Look, guys, the UK is so far advanced in all of this than we are. I think we're like 5 years behind, but it was this, and I don't know if you saw it, Nancy, it was a rally for women. Nothing rowdy, just women getting together, Howard Square, whatever. All women. And a group of 10 men threw on some eyeliner and brought baseball bats to the rally. And so you're telling me that this is about women's rights? I mean, these guys were obviously looking to abuse women.
It's not. Yeah, it's not at all. That's terrible. I hadn't heard that specific one.
Saw it. Yeah. I was on Twitter one day fooling around.
It's really scary. It's really scary.
Well, but there's nothing stopping them now. And
right. No.
There's actually nothing stopping men from going into the girls' bathroom. So,
right. It's yeah. I mean, there is an assault. There is an aspect of this that is very much an assault on females. And I listened to a trigonometry podcast a couple weeks ago, and they had I can't remember her name now, but she was a former British Olympic swimmer, and she just wrote a book. And what was interesting was she talked about, she was an Olympic swimmer in like the late 70s and early 80s. And she talked about having to compete against the East German females who were doping and taking hormones and testosterone and all of that stuff, and what that was like, and coming in second to them. And then the females being doped just won all of these races. And so she has that experience of being cheated by people on drugs. And what's going on now with the athletes is very similar. So I found her interview incredibly compelling, because there is that aspect of history that I think today's millennials, don't remember, aren't taught about the Cold War and the stuff that went on behind the Iron Curtain and the effects that had. And I think it is eerily similar to this, and it's an attack on women in sport. And at the time, the IOC did nothing about it, even though they knew it was happening. And a lot of females suffered because these other communist countries cheated and doped their females. And now the same thing's happening, just in a different, with a twist, with these men in the competitions having had all of those drugs. And she talked about how men, even if you're the same like height and weight as a woman, just intrinsically you have, if you're a guy and you punch someone, it's 160% more powerful than a female. Like it's that's the fact. Like it's just true. So there's no way at an Olympic or an elite level that a man who's gone through natal puberty isn't going to destroy a female. Like it's just biological fact,
Yeah. Right. I mean,
a good interview.
Yeah. So again, that's trigonometry podcast.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, this whole thing of your external sex organs don't identify you as a boy or girl. Bullshit. It does. So let's quit playing. I mean, I'm to the point where if you're going to get in an argument with someone like that, you're not dealing with an honest broker that's doing this.
I agree. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. This is, it's a joke. And it's gaslighting from the very get-go. I wouldn't even get into it. And what it is it for doctors, for predators who are doctors, which are few, but increasing now that they've been trained this way. It gives them a pretext to do things to children that are experimental and they know it, as long as they're saying, we follow the science and
Right.
sometimes, yeah. So the whole thing's a kabuki dance.
Agree.
So, and then the last thing we have, and this is crazy, we've got poor old Barry Yeoman. I'm going to show his picture up here.
Oh, poor Barry.
Poor Barry. I mean, he seems like a nice enough fella,
Yeah.
right? He got into a tango with Nancy. So the dude wrote some stuff about us, and that's fine. People do. But he had some inaccurate stuff, and I mean it, woefully inaccurate. And he met up with Nancy, who is, let's just say, fastidious, for detail. And and oh, by the way, this is what's funny. So is Barry. So Barry, you can see this up on the screen. He's getting a lot of accolades. High five, my latest. Get this out. I mean, like, he went into freaking the Gaza Strip or Beirut. Listen to this.
Orange County.
Listen to this. I spent 4 months on a culture war battlefield.
No.
Okay. It's like he's deconstructing landmines left behind.
Yeah.
I spent 4 months on a culture war battleground.
Yeah.
Orange County, North Carolina.
Trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, where the hostile factions, by the way, you're looking at hostile factions right here. The one is again, right? Okay. Compete for control of the public schools. It's the story of America. They're heaved into a political chasm. So this guy is a real powder puff. Okay. Wouldn't be, I can tell you one damn thing, would not be able to live a damn week, a day in our shoes. But he's, battle torn and scarred. And here he is. And he writes this article, which is completely full of, what. I'll put this up on the screen. He's sitting here saying that, look, I'll be honest with you, I've not been inside of an actual school board meeting. Never have. One time I was on the outside of a school board meeting, on the outside in Orange County, like, what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
That was such a big deal to Gary, like 2 days ago when he wrote about this, that he had to bring up that we were there protesting, what was it, vaccine mandates?
So it was it was a porn in schools book. Yeah,
we were. That's what we were protesting. I don't like it when all ages are exposed to oral sex and incest, and it's being normalized. That's just coming old fashioned.
And just to note, Sloan, just as an aside, his article had multiple pictures involved. Like, it was a 6,000 word essay and in depth and all this stuff.
From the war zone.
Multiple pictures. No pictures of the questionable illustrations in these books, of course, even though there was plenty of room to include them. But that was not selected. Glory
be. Well, color me shocked. Yeah. Because I'm going to put some pictures up now. Let's look at them again. This is the kind of stuff that now they'll tell you, wow, we're not giving it to the kids directly, but you and I know that these are often displayed in the first few rows when they walk in, or it's placed on a table display. So, so Barry ran into you today, and he took high dudgeon to you, correcting his article.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, well, so the beginning of his article, I mean, I was aware of what was going on. I live in a neighboring county. I felt a lot of empathy for what the residents of Orange County were trying to do, which was communicate to the school board, and being constantly shut down and intimidated and things twisted. And so I talked to them a lot and tried to help, and I attended that rally as well.
We were both there. Guilty. Huh? We were both there.
Yeah. But what Barry said in the beginning of the article, on the very first page, that set the tone for the article was incorrect. And he mentioned that the people that, like, I would say the conservatives, or, the residents who were upset with the board, were protesting vaccine mandates, parentheses, mandates that didn't even exist, end parentheses, and then went on. So by doing that, he's inferring that the people were frivolous and didn't even know what they were protesting about and protesting the wrong things.
Yeah.
But actually, vaccine mandates very much were in existence. And there was a policy that came out in August, and this is important because it led to the elevation of tensions, which led to these protests and these overwrought, exclamations of, oh my God, they're horrible, racist, white supremacists, blah, 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 and anti-vax, and all this, overreaction from the board and their supporters. But the point is that a policy did exist. In August, the board passed a resolution that to participate in sports and extracurricular activities, students had to be vaccinated. If they were not to be vaccinated, they had to undergo the invasive testing every 2 weeks, which would put them at risk for revealing their own vaccination status as well, because people are going to know that you're getting tested every 2 weeks, or they couldn't play. So it was a vaccine mandate. You had to get vaccinated. There was an exception, there was a short out, but you had to get vaccinated or do this other invasive protocol and risk being outed to the community with your medical details, or you can play sports. We all know now, although at the time we didn't, the details about transmission and all that stuff. This isn't meant to get into a vaccine debate. But by setting the tone of the article, by saying these people really weren't protesting something that existed, is an outright falsehood. There was a vaccine mandate in place. The board didn't communicate it with the parents. They just announced it. They didn't give them a chance to speak at the meeting. They shut that meeting to parents.
I remember that.
Parents couldn't comment, and it was just decided. And so the parents were very right to be concerned and a little upset. And if the board had put more thought behind it, had included parents, had included the community, had given them more time, had handled it better, and not been so dictatorial about it in the name of democracy and saving kids' lives, then perhaps these protests could have been avoided, because it certainly increased attention. But in poor Mr. Yeoman's article, he makes it seem in the very introduction that these mandates, vaccine mandates, did not exist in the school, and that these parents were ill-informed or frivolous in terms of protesting things that he thinks didn't really exist.
Backwoods, redneck, conspiracy theorists.
Right. And it's a redefinition of history. It's left saying, it's like Randy Weingarten saying, well, we weren't really for school closures, or Fauci saying, I didn't really want to close schools. And here's this journalist saying, well, these parents, there was no vaccine mandate, No, there was very much one, and it was sudden and imposed without comment or input from the community. And it led to a lot of the subsequent issues that he dealt with in the article. So I did contact him, and I probably overwhelmed
my favorite part. Now you're getting to my
disagreed with
favorite part.
Article, wrote one of my novels, but he was kind enough to get back to me. And he disagreed. He said it wasn't a vaccine mandate because people could get tested or whatever. But I'm like, no, it's an ultimatum. You have to change your lifestyle because of a vaccine and what the school wants you to do. Plus, the volunteers to the school had to be vaccinated. When the vaccine was, they instituted a policy that if the vaccine was fully approved by the FDA, then you definitely had to be vaccinated. There was no testing. So this was all a vaccine mandate. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I said, well, with all due respect, it's a vaccine mandate. It needs to be clarified. It sets the tone of your article. It's in the introductory paragraphs. These parents had every right to have a complaint under free speech, even if you disagree with what they were complaining about. So with all due respect, I'm going to contact your editors and see what they think, because I think if you're billing yourself as an in-depth reporter and trying to be fair to all sides and stuff, you need to clarify exactly what you mean by there was no mandate, because there absolutely was. And he did not like that.
What did he say?
He just reiterated that, again, it wasn't really a vaccine mandate. And he said later in the article that they talked about, the mask. They were protesting the mask mandates and the testing mandates. And I said, okay. I was like, fine, 4,000. Well, I'm thinking in my head, 4,000 words later, you're clarifying what you meant by but this is the introductory paragraph. This is setting the tone for the whole thing. And just because you say something 4,000 words later, you have to take the statement that you said at the time is what you wrote, which was there was no vaccine mandate, when in fact there was. So, I'm going to, at some point, compose when I have time. I already feel like I spent too much time on this guy, but At some point I'll compose, a nice short, I promise.
Well,
Um,
paragraphs.
yeah, less than, 2 sentence thing to his editors, just being like, look, this is a vaccine mandate. Unfortunately, this is misleading. Whether he meant to be misleading or not, one can speculate, but students had to do this or else they couldn't participate, or else they had to undergo invasive mandatory testing that was at risk of outing their personal medical status in a HIPAA violation. That is a vaccine mandate. And see if they will edit or put an editor's note on the article, because I think it is unfair in communicating to the public. It's not accurate.
Well, with our name on it, if you're going to be, have our name on it, at least, right, get it right. There's nothing wrong with burying a lead. I mean, we're not nitpicking someone's journalism, that's fine. But if you're saying something inaccurate as you're opening up, and you're not correcting yourself until, all the way to the end of it, yeah, it is misleading. I mean, we don't, we take punches just as well as we give them around here. But again, writing about something as in you're in, the fields of Saigon or whatever, battling the cultural war, and, we are, making people frightened, etc. I mean, it stretches credulity. I don't think anyone believes it. And all this ridiculousness we've shown you tonight, people see right through it. So don't, it's not just the viewers here and me and Nancy. It's like, you're talking to regular rank and file people. They're not hyper focused on these issues. But B, they have a very strong opinion about them, and they happen to comport exactly with what our opinions are. Boys shouldn't be in the bathroom. Kids shouldn't be getting this, what they call gender affirming care, but sterilized. Kids shouldn't be showing porn. This is common sense stuff. And the purpose of tonight was to show you that we're going to be gaslit, but
and even when you point out a fact and point to a policy that is completely accurate, the person still comes back and says no. It's like there's a total disconnect, and you got to expect it.
Right.
And
they're not going to
do about it.
They're not going to reach the rank and file person, okay? Because there's only 10% of people like that are out of their mind, and they're not going to reach the rank and file person. So as we go into this election season, it's very tempting for all of us to do what we did tonight, to address the far extreme, right? But don't address the people that you can walk right up and you can say, look, boys shouldn't be in the girls' bathroom, right? Right. Okay, great. So we need a DA or a city councilman or whatever that will prevent that from happening. And that's how we're going to get a lot of space here, because the left is, man, they lost it.
They're losing people. I mean, they really are. And people are waking up to it. They're tired of it. We're seeing it also as well, just, in a lot of DEI stuff ending. The Stanford DEI dean was fired or forcefully resigned after that law school debacle.
Yep.
There are several state AGs that are coming after corporations for their DEI practices. It's being more and more exposed. UNC is putting limitations on their DEI stuff. So people are waking up to it, and they're seeing that this is not the fighting racism that they're being told it is.
It's a huge distraction. It's a huge distraction, and it's keeping people from focusing on the things that really matter. We cover it because it happens to lead to anything that leads to child exploitation, whether it's racializing or sexualizing children. That's the hill that we're going to die on. Okay. We've been doing it for the last almost 3 years now. So we're going to keep doing that. But look, guys, I mean, this is, we want to show you this because these people are stuck in this. And poor Barry had to lie about it.
Yeah. I mean,
the truth didn't work for him. He didn't show pictures of the book. He didn't tell the truth about the vaccine mandates. Barry, wake up.
Yeah.
You're on the wrong side.
Yeah. Maybe he's a bad guy.
Maybe he's a bad guy. Maybe he's a bad guy. So, all right. Well, we are going to be addressing these things as we go. Let me tell you what's coming up. Nancy, we've had to digest 25,000 pages of documents from ECU that have to do with a program that doesn't exist, allegedly.
Right. Or it's just about nutrition if it does exist.
It's about nutrition. So everyone has been asking us for the last 2 weeks, hey, what's in the documents? What are you going to do about the document? What are you going to do? I will tell you, a lot more is coming up. We did a little story yesterday that really what they want to do is they want to make a Duke. Like they picked the craziest, one of the craziest gender clinics in the country. They want to replicate it out east. But there's so much more in the documents. It's just, we like to review everything as a complete whole so that we're able to present to you the entire picture. One thing that I found yesterday in the documents, and Nancy, I sent you this, was remember the East Carolinian, the article that Dr. Colby Dendy, who started the Fry Clinic. Well, I found the email where she was going back and forth with a journalist, and the journalist accurately reported her answers, and which means we're accurate from the beginning.
Yeah. No, it's their own words. That's the thing. These are their own words. It's their own emails. It's what they're saying. And 1 minute, it's like, how do you not have a clinic yet have 25,000 emails about a clinic that doesn't exist? But you do have a clinic, but only deals with nutrition and sometimes mental health issues. It's like, well, it's either you don't have a clinic or you do have a clinic. And then how do you explain all the emails about training and how to prescribe hormones and self-celebrating that they're going to bring this service? And by the way, I've already seen a bunch of kids under the age of 14 and given them hormones, and people still want to deny that this is happening. It's a Barry situation. No, there aren't actually vaccine mandates, but here's a policy where it says there is. Yeah, that's not a vaccine mandate, but it says you have to take the vaccine or else this. But that's not, it's like,
well, they didn't say they're going to kill you.
That way.
I mean, this is Baghdad Bob, the guy who was reporting, there's nothing going on here, and like fires were blazing. Yeah, and so we're going to get that, but guys, do not be frustrated. Because people are going to call you all kinds of things, but you're going to have to still keep advocating for this, still keep getting to the truth, still putting the truth out there. Yeah, that's what it's all about. We're not going to stop. So if you want us to, tough, ain't doing it. All right. Well,
go check out Clown World every once in a while. It's good for a laugh.
Clown World on Twitter. You got to do it. Lives of TikTok, Clown World. Got to do it. All right, guys. Well, have a very good night. Thank you, Nancy, for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Too long. All right. Thanks. Good night, guys.